It's just another day in the life of billionaire Jacob Bennett until his loyal driver arrives 5 minutes late. Furious, Jacob fires him on the spot, convinced that punctuality is everything. But years later, Jacob is left speechless when he sees that very driver stepping out of a luxury car worth millions. How did their fates intertwine so dramatically? Stay with us to uncover this astonishing tale of pride, perseverance, and karma. Jacob Bennett, a self-made billionaire, lives in the lap of luxury, ruling the corporate world with an iron fist. Known for his ruthless efficiency and no-nonsense demeanor, Jacob thrives on perfection and discipline. Every minute of his life is meticulously scheduled, and every second wasted is a cardinal sin in his eyes. Jacob's sprawling mansion, perched atop a hill overlooking the city skyline, is a reflection of his success, a fortress of modern design and cold, sterile opulence. Yet, beneath the surface of his seemingly perfect life lies a man isolated by his own standards. Jacob has no close friends, estranged family members, and a past he buries deep beneath layers of achievement. The only relationships in his life are professional ones, driven by utility rather than emotion. On the other side of the city, in a modest 2-bedroom apartment, lives Daniel Carter. Daniel is a soft-spoken man in his late 30s, whose warmth contrasts sharply with Jacob's cold demeanor. He is a devoted husband to Clara and a loving father to their 10-year-old daughter, Mia. For Daniel, every day is a balancing act. Early mornings driving Jacob to meetings, late nights helping Mia with her schoolwork, and weekends fixing things around the house. Despite the struggles, Daniel radiates a quiet optimism. He believes in the dignity of hard work and has spent years saving for a dream he keeps close to his heart. One fateful morning, as dawn breaks over the city, Daniel wakes earlier than usual. He kisses Clara on the forehead and sneaks into Mia's room to tuck her blanket around her. He knows the day will be demanding. Jacob has back-to-back meetings, and punctuality is critical. But as Daniel makes his way through the bustling streets, fate intervenes. A massive car accident on the freeway grinds traffic to a halt. Despite his best efforts to find an alternate route, Daniel arrives at Jacob's estate 5 minutes late. For Jacob, this delay is an unforgivable offense. He storms out of his front door, immaculate in his tailored suit, his sharp eyes flashing with irritation. Before Daniel can utter a word of explanation, Jacob raises a hand to silence him. "If you can't respect my time, you don't deserve this job," he says curtly. The dismissal is cold, final, and devastating. Daniel's heart sinks. Years of loyal service wiped away in an instant. Humiliated and shaken, he parks the car and walks away, his head held high despite the sting of rejection. He knows arguing with someone like Jacob is futile. But as he leaves the estate, he glances back one last time, a mix of hurt and determination in his eyes. Back home, Clara is worried but supportive. Mia hugs him tightly, sensing his sadness even without knowing the details. "You'll figure it out, Daddy," she says, with childlike faith. Clara encourages him to take this as an opportunity to chase his long-held dream. That evening, Daniel sits at their small kitchen table, sketching ideas on a notebook. The fire of his resolve reignites. Meanwhile, Jacob continues with his meticulously planned life. Meetings, deals, and business expansions occupy his days, but there's an intangible void he can't shake. His mansion feels colder, his evenings lonelier. He dismisses the discomfort as trivial, burying himself deeper in his work. Yet something about Daniel's silent exit lingers in his mind, a faint, nagging thought he brushes aside. As weeks turn into months, the story begins to take shape. Daniel takes up odd jobs, working tirelessly to make ends meet while pursuing his passion project. Slowly but surely, his efforts bear fruit. The struggle is immense, but Daniel's determination never wavers. With Clara's encouragement and Mia's innocent belief in him, Daniel's journey becomes one of self-discovery and growth. Unbeknownst to Jacob, the man he dismissed so easily is carving a new path. One day, their lives will intersect again in a way that will leave Jacob questioning everything he thought he knew about success, respect, and the value of human connection. Introduction / background. Jacob Bennett, a self-made billionaire, lives in the lap of luxury, ruling the corporate world with an iron fist. Known for his ruthless efficiency and no-nonsense demeanor, Jacob thrives on perfection and discipline. Every minute of his life is meticulously scheduled, and every second wasted is a cardinal sin in his eyes. Jacob's sprawling mansion, perched atop a hill overlooking the city skyline, is a reflection of his success, a fortress of modern design and cold, sterile opulence. Yet, beneath the surface of his seemingly perfect life lies a man isolated by his own standards. Jacob has no close friends, estranged family members, and a past he buries deep beneath layers of achievement. The only relationships in his life are professional ones, driven by utility rather than emotion. On the other side of the city, in a modest 2-bedroom apartment, lives Daniel Carter. Daniel is a soft-spoken man in his late 30s, whose warmth contrasts sharply with Jacob's cold demeanor. He is a devoted husband to Clara and a loving father to their 10-year-old daughter, Mia. For Daniel, every day is a balancing act. Early mornings driving Jacob to meetings, late nights helping Mia with her schoolwork, and weekends fixing things around the house. Despite the struggles, Daniel radiates a quiet optimism. He believes in the dignity of hard work and has spent years saving for a dream he keeps close to his heart. One fateful morning, as dawn breaks over the city, Daniel wakes earlier than usual. He kisses Clara on the forehead and sneaks into Mia's room to tuck her blanket around her. He knows the day will be demanding. Jacob has back-to-back meetings, and punctuality is critical. But as Daniel makes his way through the bustling streets, fate intervenes. A massive car accident on the freeway grinds traffic to a halt. Despite his best efforts to find an alternate route, Daniel arrives at Jacob's estate 5 minutes late. For Jacob, this delay is an unforgivable offense. He storms out of his front door, immaculate in his tailored suit, his sharp eyes flashing with irritation. Before Daniel can utter a word of explanation, Jacob raises a hand to silence him. "If you can't respect my time, you don't deserve this job," he says curtly. The dismissal is cold, final, and devastating. Daniel's heart sinks. Years of loyal service wiped away in an instant. Humiliated and shaken, he parks the car and walks away, his head held high despite the sting of rejection. He knows arguing with someone like Jacob is futile. But as he leaves the estate, he glances back one last time, a mix of hurt and determination in his eyes. Back home, Clara is worried but supportive. Mia hugs him tightly, sensing his sadness even without knowing the details. "You'll figure it out, Daddy," she says, with childlike faith. Clara encourages him to take this as an opportunity to chase his long-held dream. That evening, Daniel sits at their small kitchen table, sketching ideas on a notebook. The fire of his resolve reignites. Meanwhile, Jacob continues with his meticulously planned life. Meetings, deals, and business expansions occupy his days, but there's an intangible void he can't shake. His mansion feels colder, his evenings lonelier. He dismisses the discomfort as trivial, burying himself deeper in his work. Yet something about Daniel's silent exit lingers in his mind, a faint, nagging thought he brushes aside. As weeks turn into months, the story begins to take shape. Daniel takes up odd jobs, working tirelessly to make ends meet while pursuing his passion project. Slowly but surely, his efforts bear fruit. The struggle is immense, but Daniel's determination never wavers. With Clara's encouragement and Mia's innocent belief in him, Daniel's journey becomes one of self-discovery and growth. Unbeknownst to Jacob, the man he dismissed so easily is carving a new path. One day, their lives will intersect again in a way that will leave Jacob questioning everything he thought he knew about success, respect, and the value of human connection. Jacob begins to notice subtle changes in himself as the days go by. The encounter with Daniel stirs something long buried, a nagging awareness of the humanity behind the people he once saw only as cogs in his corporate machine. For years, Jacob justified his actions by the demands of business, but Daniel's success story unsettles him. It's not just that Daniel rose above his circumstances. It's the realization that Jacob played an inadvertent role in shaping that journey. As he grapples with this epiphany, Jacob starts to see cracks in his own life, relationships neglected, opportunities to be kind squandered, and a growing sense of emptiness despite his wealth. For Daniel, life has become a whirlwind of growth and change. His transportation service thrives, expanding to multiple cities. Each day brings new challenges, but also new opportunities. Clara, ever his pillar of support, takes on a more active role in the business, ensuring their company stays true to its values of respect and integrity. One day, Daniel receives a letter from a young man who credits the service with saving his life. The man had been on the brink of despair, but found hope through a conversation with one of Daniel's drivers. This letter becomes a turning point for Daniel, solidifying his belief in the power of small, meaningful acts. Jacob's growing introspection leads him to reconnect with old friends and associates. Many of them recount stories of how his actions, both good and bad, impacted their lives. A former colleague recalls how Jacob's ruthlessness forced him to leave the company, but ultimately led him to pursue a more fulfilling career. Another shares how a rare moment of Jacob's generosity helped her during a crisis. These stories create a mosaic of Jacob's legacy, and for the first time, he sees the duality of his influence. This realization fuels a desire to change, but he doesn't yet know where to begin. One evening, Jacob finds himself in an old neighborhood where he once lived as a struggling young entrepreneur. The modest homes and bustling streets remind him of his humble beginnings, and a wave of nostalgia washes over him. As he walks, he stumbles upon a community center hosting a career workshop for underprivileged youth. Curiosity draws him inside, where he observes volunteers mentoring teenagers on job applications and interview techniques. The sight moves Jacob deeply, planting the seed for an idea that will later become a pivotal moment in his journey. Meanwhile, Daniel is approached by a renowned philanthropist who offers to collaborate on a social impact project. The proposal involves using Daniel's transportation network to provide free rides for job seekers in low-income areas. The idea resonates with Daniel, aligning perfectly with his values. As he discusses the details with Clara, they reflect on how far they've come, from struggling to make ends meet to becoming a source of hope for others. Clara suggests naming the initiative after Daniel's late father, a tribute to the man who instilled resilience and kindness in his son. Jacob learns about Daniel's new initiative through a mutual acquaintance and feels an inexplicable pull to get involved. Though he knows it's a long shot, Jacob reaches out to Daniel through a carefully worded email, expressing interest in supporting the project. When Daniel receives the email, his initial reaction is skepticism. "Why now?" he wonders aloud to Clara. But her gentle encouragement prompts him to consider the possibility that people can change. After much deliberation, Daniel agrees to meet Jacob for a casual lunch, curious to see what he has to say. The lunch meeting is tense at first. Both men circle around the elephant in the room, exchanging pleasantries and small talk. Finally, Jacob takes a deep breath and addresses the topic directly. "I've spent a lot of time thinking about that day," he begins, his voice uncharacteristically soft. "Firing you wasn't just a business decision, it was a failure of humanity. I didn't see you for who you were, and I've regretted it ever since." Daniel listens intently, his emotions a mix of anger, vindication, and a strange sense of closure. As the conversation unfolds, Jacob shares his vision for the mentorship program, inspired by the community center visit. He explains that he wants to create opportunities for those who, like Daniel once did, face systemic barriers to success. Jacob's sincerity catches Daniel off guard. For the first time, he sees Jacob not as the cold, calculating boss he remembers, but as a man seeking redemption. Though forgiveness doesn't come easily, Daniel agrees to explore the possibility of collaboration, setting the stage for a tentative alliance. Word spreads about the unexpected partnership between Daniel and Jacob, sparking curiosity and intrigue. The two men begin working together on the mentorship program, which combines Jacob's financial resources with Daniel's grassroots expertise. Their interactions are initially strained, but over time, a mutual respect develops. Daniel witnesses Jacob's genuine efforts to make amends, while Jacob gains a newfound appreciation for the resilience and creativity that define Daniel's approach to life. The mentorship program launches with great success, attracting attention from media outlets and community leaders alike. At the inaugural event, Jacob delivers a heartfelt speech about the importance of second chances, both given and received. He credits Daniel as his inspiration, acknowledging that their partnership is as much about healing as it is about giving back. As the audience applauds, Daniel feels a weight lift from his shoulders. For the first time in years, he allows himself to believe in the possibility of reconciliation. Despite their progress, challenges arise that test their fragile alliance. A miscommunication about funding threatens to derail the project, reigniting old tensions. Both men must confront their lingering doubts and insecurities, ultimately choosing to prioritize the greater good over personal pride. The resolution of this conflict becomes a turning point in their relationship, solidifying their commitment to the program and to each other's growth. As the mentorship program gains momentum, Jacob and Daniel find themselves frequently working side by side. These moments reveal their contrasting yet complementary strengths: Jacob's strategic foresight and financial acumen, paired with Daniel's empathy and grassroots understanding of the community. During one late-night brainstorming session, Daniel opens up about his journey after being fired, detailing the nights he spent doubting his worth and the unexpected moments that kept him going. Jacob listens intently, his usual composed demeanor replaced by visible remorse and a newfound determination to make things right. To celebrate the program's success, Jacob suggests hosting an event to honor the volunteers and participants who made it possible. Daniel hesitates at first, wary of the potential publicity overshadowing the program's true purpose. Clara steps in with a suggestion to make the event about the stories of the mentees, highlighting their struggles, growth, and achievements. This idea resonates with both Jacob and Daniel, who agree to organize a storytelling gala. The event becomes a labor of love, with everyone pitching in to ensure its success. As the gala approaches, Jacob faces an unexpected challenge. His estranged son, Michael, learns about the mentorship program and reaches out for the first time in years. Michael accuses Jacob of using the program to bolster his public image, dredging up old wounds about Jacob's neglectful parenting during Michael's childhood. The confrontation shakes Jacob, forcing him to confront the personal cost of his ambition. Seeking advice, Jacob turns to Daniel, who surprises him with a candid perspective. "Your son doesn't need grand gestures. He needs you to listen, to really listen." The gala night arrives, and the atmosphere is electric with anticipation. One by one, mentees take the stage to share their stories. A young woman recounts how the mentorship program helped her escape an abusive household and pursue her dream of becoming a teacher. A former gang member speaks about finding purpose through the program's support. As the audience listens, tears and applause punctuate each story. Jacob watches from the sidelines, overwhelmed by the realization that he is part of something far greater than himself. When it's Daniel's turn to speak, he addresses the crowd with a mix of humility and pride. He shares the origins of the mentorship program, including the pivotal moment of being fired by Jacob. "What could have been my lowest point became the spark that lit a fire in me," Daniel says, his voice steady but charged with emotion. Turning toward Jacob, he adds, "And while it took me years to see it, that moment taught me resilience and the power of second chances." The room erupts in applause as Jacob nods, his eyes glistening with gratitude and newfound respect. The mentorship program launches with a grand opening, attracting local media and community leaders. Jacob stands at the podium, his tailored suit pristine, but his expression unusually vulnerable. The applause fills the hall as he begins his speech, recounting the program's mission and the inspiration behind it. "Every person deserves a second chance," Jacob declares, his voice steady but laced with emotion. He glances at Daniel, seated in the front row, who nods subtly, a silent encouragement. The crowd is captivated, but for Jacob, the moment is bittersweet. While he speaks of second chances, he knows there are bridges in his personal life he has yet to rebuild. Chief among them is his estranged son, Michael. The memory of their last argument haunts him, a storm of words about Jacob's absence during Michael's formative years. That same evening, after the event concludes, Jacob makes a decision that has been years in the making. He will reach out to Michael. Meanwhile, Daniel faces challenges of his own. His transportation company is approached by a predatory investor offering an exorbitant sum in exchange for control of the mentorship initiative. The offer tempts some members of his team, but Daniel's resolve remains firm. He knows what's at stake, the program's integrity. However, the pressure mounts as the investor begins spreading rumors about the program's viability. The whispers reach Jacob, who confronts Daniel. Their argument is heated. "You're being naive, Daniel. Do you think these vultures will stop at rumors? They'll tear you apart if you don't adapt," Jacob warns. "Adapt?" Daniel retorts, his tone sharp. "You mean sell out? This program wasn't built for profit, Jacob. It was built for people." The tension crackles in the air. For the first time since their reconciliation, their differences seem irreconcilable. Jacob storms out, leaving Daniel to wrestle with the weight of his convictions and the mounting opposition. That night, Jacob finds himself in his penthouse, staring at an old photograph of him and Michael during a rare family vacation. The boy's beaming face contrasts starkly with Jacob's somber demeanor in the picture. The memory stings. Determined to make amends, Jacob dials Michael's number. To his surprise, Michael answers. Their conversation is stilted, laden with unresolved tension, but by the end, Michael agrees to meet for coffee the next day. The meeting is strained. Michael's guarded demeanor reflects years of hurt and disappointment. Jacob, uncharacteristically vulnerable, admits, "I failed you, Michael. I chose ambition over fatherhood, and I've regretted it every day since." Michael's eyes soften, but his words remain cautious. "Words are easy, Dad. What's different now?" Jacob takes a deep breath. "Because I'm trying to change. Not for appearances, not for accolades. For you. For me. For the time we still have." Michael's silence is heavy but not hostile. He nods once before leaving, a flicker of possibility in his expression. Back in Daniel's world, the predatory investor's actions escalate. One of Daniel's drivers receives an anonymous threat, warning him to quit or face consequences. Clara urges Daniel to report it, but he hesitates, knowing the stakes. However, the breaking point comes when the investor publicly accuses Daniel of mismanaging funds. The accusation spreads like wildfire, threatening the program's credibility. Desperate, Daniel calls Jacob. The phone rings longer than usual before Jacob answers. "I'm in," Jacob says before Daniel can speak. "Tell me what you need." The two men join forces, leveraging Jacob's connections and Daniel's grassroots support to counter the allegations. Their combined efforts culminate in a press conference where Jacob speaks directly to the accusations. "This program is built on trust and integrity. Anyone who questions that questions me," he says, his voice steely. Behind him, Daniel stands firm, a visible symbol of resilience. The press conference is a turning point. The investor withdraws his campaign, and the mentorship program's reputation is restored. Daniel and Jacob's partnership emerges stronger, bound not just by their shared mission, but by mutual respect forged in adversity. As the mentorship initiative prepares for a national rollout, Jacob receives unexpected news. Michael has decided to join the program as a volunteer. The news brings tears to Jacob's eyes, a rare sight for the once stoic billionaire. At the same time, Daniel's company is honored with an award for its contributions to social impact, solidifying his transformation from a dismissed driver to a revered entrepreneur. One late evening, Jacob and Daniel sit on the steps of a community center they helped renovate. The night is quiet, the air filled with a sense of accomplishment. Jacob breaks the silence. "You know, I've learned something from you." Daniel chuckles softly. "What's that?" "It's never too late to rewrite your story," Jacob says, his gaze distant but reflective. Daniel nods, his expression one of quiet agreement. The two men sit there, two lives intertwined by fate, united in purpose. The climax ends with the mentorship program's first national gala, where mentees share their stories of transformation. Among the speakers is a young woman who credits Daniel's company with helping her escape a cycle of poverty and find her voice. Her words bring tears to the eyes of many in attendance, including Jacob, who realizes the true depth of their work. As the event concludes, Jacob and Daniel stand together, a testament to the power of second chances and the enduring impact of human connection. The gala's success becomes a media sensation. Major news outlets cover the event, framing it as an inspiring tale of redemption and collaboration. Jacob and Daniel's story garners admiration, but not everyone is pleased. Behind the scenes, remnants of the investors' influence still loom, threatening to sabotage their progress. A week after the gala, Daniel receives a cryptic email warning him of potential legal challenges to the mentorship program. He forwards the message to Jacob, who immediately recognizes the sender as a known associate of their former adversary. Realizing the threat is far from over, Jacob and Daniel convene a meeting with their legal team to strategize. Clara joins them, her steady presence a reminder of what they are fighting for. "We need to stay ahead of this," Jacob asserts. "If they're willing to resort to legal intimidation, they'll stop at nothing." Clara interjects, her voice calm but resolute. "Let them try. We've built this on integrity. They won't find anything to exploit." Despite the reassurances, the pressure begins to mount. For Daniel, sleepless nights become routine as he juggles the demands of running a growing business while safeguarding the program. Jacob, too, finds himself grappling with old doubts. His mind drifts to Michael, who has started volunteering but remains distant in their personal interactions. Jacob wonders if his efforts to change will ever be enough to heal the wounds he caused. One afternoon, Jacob decides to visit Michael unannounced. He arrives at the community center where Michael is mentoring a group of teenagers. From a distance, Jacob watches as his son engages with the kids, his passion and dedication evident. The sight fills Jacob with both pride and regret. Summoning his courage, he approaches Michael after the session. "I didn't mean to interrupt," Jacob says, his tone unusually soft. Michael looks surprised but doesn't turn him away. They sit on a nearby bench, the silence between them heavy but not uncomfortable. "You're good at this," Jacob finally says, gesturing toward the group of teens. Michael shrugs but can't hide a small smile. "They remind me of me at that age. A little lost, a little angry." Jacob nods, choosing his words carefully. "I was lost too. I just didn't realize it until it was too late." Michael's expression softens. Maybe it's not too late. The conversation marks a turning point. While their relationship is far from perfect, it's a step toward rebuilding the bond they once shared. At the same time, Daniel faces a personal challenge when one of his employees, Luis, is injured in a car accident. The incident threatens to derail a critical project, but Daniel's response demonstrates the depth of his leadership. He visits Luis in the hospital, assuring him that his job is secure and offering support for his recovery. The gesture resonates throughout the company, reinforcing the values that have become its foundation. As the legal threats intensify, Jacob and Daniel decide to take a bold step. They organize a press conference to address the situation head-on, presenting evidence of their program's integrity and exposing the unethical tactics of their adversaries. The move garners widespread support, with community leaders and program participants rallying behind them. The press conference concludes with a powerful moment. A former mentee takes the stage, sharing how the mentorship program saved him from a life of crime If it weren't for this program, I wouldn't be standing here today, he says, his voice filled with emotion. The audience erupts in applause, the tide of public opinion firmly on Jacob and Daniel's side. In the aftermath, Jacob reflects on the journey that brought him here. Sitting in his office late one night, he pulls out an old notebook where he once meticulously planned every minute of his day. Flipping through the pages, he pauses at a blank one. Picking up a pen, he writes a single sentence. Success is measured not by what you achieve, but by what you give. Falling action, the gala's success ushers in a new era for the mentorship program. With the national rollout underway, Jacob and Daniel find themselves busier than ever, but their partnership has grown into a deep friendship. For Jacob, the program represents more than just philanthropy. It is a pathway to redemption. For Daniel, it is the culmination of years of hard work, resilience, and belief in the power of small, meaningful acts. Michael's involvement in the program becomes a pivotal point in his relationship with Jacob. Working alongside his father, Michael begins to see a side of Jacob he never knew existed. The once cold businessman is now a man driven by purpose and humility. During a mentorship workshop, Michael overhears Jacob encouraging a mentee. "Your past doesn't define you. What matters is what you do now," Jacob says. The words resonate with Michael, sparking a glimmer of forgiveness. Meanwhile, Clara takes on a larger role in Daniel's company. Her sharp instincts and compassionate leadership bring a new level of efficiency and warmth to the organization. Together, she and Daniel launch an initiative to provide scholarships for mentees pursuing higher education. At home, Mia's growing awareness of her parents' work inspires her to start a small charity drive at school, collecting books and supplies for underprivileged kids. Despite their progress, challenges persist. A sudden economic downturn threatens funding for the program, forcing Jacob and Daniel to make difficult decisions. They organize a high-profile fundraising event, leveraging Jacob's corporate connections and Daniel's community ties. The event is a success, but not without its tense moments. A prominent donor questions the program's impact, prompting Daniel to deliver an impassioned speech about its transformative power. "This isn't just about numbers," Daniel says, his voice steady but charged with emotion. "It's about lives changed, opportunities created, and hope restored. If you're looking for a quick return on investment, this isn't the place. But if you want to be part of something that lasts, something meaningful, then you're in the right room." The crowd erupts in applause, securing the donors' support and reaffirming the program's mission. As the Falling Action progresses, Jacob and Daniel reflect on the personal growth they've experienced. Jacob begins to reconnect with old friends and estranged family members, extending the lessons he's learned to his personal life. He invites Michael to dinner at his mansion, a meal filled with laughter and stories, a stark contrast to the cold, empty dinners of his past. For Daniel, the journey comes full circle when he receives a letter from a mentee who has become a successful entrepreneur. The mentee credits the program with giving him the confidence to pursue his dreams. Reading the letter, Daniel is reminded of his own struggles and the moment he decided to turn his life around. He shares the letter with Clara and Mia, who beam with pride. In a quiet moment at the office, Jacob and Daniel review the program's progress. "We've come a long way," Jacob says, his tone reflective. Daniel nods, his gaze steady. "And we've got a long way to go." They share a quiet smile, the weight of their journey giving way to a shared sense of purpose. Resolution months pass, and the mentorship program solidifies its place as a national movement. Its impact resonates far beyond its original goals, inspiring other organizations to adopt similar models. Jacob and Daniel become household names, symbols of what can be achieved when individuals work together for a greater purpose. For Jacob, the program becomes a bridge to rebuilding his personal life. Michael's tentative involvement blossoms into a full partnership. Together, they expand the program's reach, focusing on communities that Jacob once overlooked in his pursuit of profit. Their relationship, once fractured, now stands as a testament to the power of forgiveness and the shared desire to create something meaningful. Daniel's life also reaches new heights. His transportation company thrives, but he remains grounded, always reminding himself of the journey that brought him here. Clara, now co-running the business, ensures that their values remain intact. Mia, inspired by her parents, organizes a nationwide youth campaign to promote education and mentorship, becoming a voice for her generation. The mentorship program's annual gala becomes a cornerstone event, drawing attendees from across the country. This year's gala is held at a sprawling venue filled with mentees, mentors, and supporters. The air is charged with excitement as Jacob takes the stage to deliver the opening address. When we started this journey, it was about second chances, Jacob begins, his voice steady. But along the way, we learned that it's also about first chances, creating opportunities for those who never had them. This program has given me more than I could ever give back. It taught me humility, compassion, and the importance of building something that lasts. The audience erupts in applause as Jacob steps down, his expression one of quiet pride. Daniel follows, sharing his own reflections. For me, this started as a way to prove to myself that I could rise above my circumstances, but it became so much more. It became a way to lift others, to show that no matter where you start, there's always a way forward. The highlight of the evening comes when several mentees take the stage to share their stories. One by one, they recount how the program changed their lives. A young woman who escaped an abusive household to become a teacher, a former gang member now working as a community leader, and a struggling artist who found his voice and now inspires others through his work. Each story is a reminder of the program's profound impact. As the event concludes, Jacob and Daniel stand together, surrounded by the people whose lives they've touched. The once cold billionaire and the dismissed driver have become beacons of hope, proving that even the most unlikely partnerships can change the world.